Now, Sports Talk with Brodes. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. The Philadelphia Phillies signed JT Realmuto. And I know it's going to be hard for some people to do this, but the Phillies actually deserve credit. That means John Middleton and Matt Klentak as well. Sadly, they wanted to wait out the market. And I was actually in favor of waiting out the market early when the pandemic first happened. Everyone wanted to just sign JT Realmuto to anything that he wanted. You have to bring this guy back. You gave up Sixto Sanchez. And I'm not discrediting that mindset. Like, you gave up a lot to get this guy. You got to find a way to bring him back, right? Like, I understand where that would fall. But I'm not giving up the house for a 30-year-old that wanted 7 years, that wanted $150+ million, $180 million. Hell, he wanted $200 million. Let's be realistic. But knowing that in sports, your agent is going to reach really high, knowing that when you communicate with teams, you're going to meet somewhere in the middle. So the agent and JT saying, hey, I'm looking for 200, and the team saying, oh, well, I'm looking at 110. You think, well, it's probably going to fall somewhere in between that. Like, I'm okay with the Philadelphia Phillies approaching this with a logical mindset of, we're not just going to give you whatever you want. This needs to be done properly. There's COVID-19 in play. Everyone's not going to be willing to spend. And guess what? They were right. It worked out in their favor. They possibly lucked into it working out for them, but at the end of the day, he's here, 5 years, $115.5 million deal, highest paid catcher AAV, and there's some deferred money in the mix. But I think the real question is, what does this mean for the Phillies? Normally, when you sign a big-time player, you are super juiced. Hey, this makes your team better. But does this? Because realistically, if the Phillies bring back JT and Didi Gregorius, now Simmons was on the table. He got picked up by Minnesota. So your only available option to this point that really, gets me going to a degree is Didi Gregorius. There were some talks about Freddie Galvis. Yeah, okay. That does not move the needle whatsoever. My point is, though, let's say hypothetically Didi Gregorius is someone that they bring back. It seems to be between the Phillies and the Reds, looking for a deal around 2 years, $30 million. You didn't really add to your team. You're essentially coming back with the same team. So it's not like, hey, we added this stud shortstop and we added the best catcher in baseball. No. That's what you had already. So it's kind of hard to feel like a big emotional difference knowing that there's still so many other flaws with your team. I can't rely on Andrew McCutchen. I hate the center field position. Rhys Hoskins is coming off of surgery, and I don't think that he's really that great anymore. Alec Boehm, you got to hold defensively. Scott Kingery, I don't really have much faith in him. Do you see where my problem is? I don't have faith in Spencer Howard. I hate Vince Velasquez. Now, they're trying to attack the bullpen and help out with some pieces. Alvarado, I'm intrigued by. Archie Bradley was a nice pickup. Hopefully, he can help out that back end of the bullpen with Hector Neris. They took some flyers on some guys. I don't know what Coonrod's going to be all about, but they have Connor Brogdon and JoJo Romero. I hear this argument. If they fix their bullpen, are they a playoff team? Last year, if they had the bullpen figured out, is this a team that would have made the playoffs? Probably, yeah. Here's my counter. You had the DH in the NL. It was a shortened season, although, you don't have to really use that one if you don't like it. So let's throw that one out. Screw it. Screw the shortened season. Although I think that is really valuable to this conversation, considering a 60-game stretch is not the same as 162 or whatever they eventually play. There were reports that they're probably not going to play 162. Then you're hearing, hey, they might play 162. Regardless, I don't think it's going to be a sprint like you saw last season. So, I mentioned the 60-game season. I mentioned the no DH thing, which is huge. It's huge to this team. And They expanded how many teams actually made the postseason. I think that all actually hurts the Phillies' chances of making some sort of exciting playoff game, I should say. Like, to me, the ceiling would be entering this season with what they have. And this is even with the hole at shortstop. Let's say Gene Segura's your guy, which is brutal defensively for an infield. I mean, garbage. The ceiling would be a wild card team if they're lucky. And that's a huge stretch. Let's be clear. I don't think that that's going to happen. But I raised this question on the Sports Bash today because the news broke around 3 o'clock when we were on the air. When the Nationals won the World Series, no one really expected the Nats to win the World Series, even though they had powerful pitching and Max Scherzer, Strasburg, Corbin they picked up. They had a great pitching staff, although keep in mind they had to utilize their starters as their bullpen because things got real murky there. Regardless, no one really thought of them as a World Series team. They thought of them as a good team, but not so much a championship team. I talked about how this team's going to enter similar to where they were last season with the roster. You might have some different pieces here and there, but ultimately it's going to have a similar vibe surrounding the main pieces. And they were about a 500 team. So if your expectations were a 500 team, if they overachieved, which is very possible. We see teams overachieve all the time. Oh, well, we thought they would be this, but they ended up that. If that's the mindset, hey, they're a 500 team, if they overachieve, is that playoff wild card spot out of question? I think this is a major reach, but I'm just hypothetically speaking here. It doesn't help the Phillies' case that they're in arguably the toughest division in baseball. The Braves are going to be super tough, and they're going to be for years. Okay, they really are. You have the Mets. Now, the Mets is interesting, because they have the new owner and everything's all excited. They've been a team, though, that have been great on paper. The problem now, though, is they're going out and getting some pieces. They're adding a lot of guys, and I don't know if they're done yet. Is Trevor Bauer still waiting to be signed by the New York Mets? They're going to be scary. They always seem to be scary on paper. It never really plays out onto the field, but they look pretty damn deep this year to the point where, for at least right now, I got to write them in as a team definitely better than the Philadelphia Phillies. The Nats, they're kind of a toss-up. But my point is they're playing against teams that are good, teams that are going to battle, teams that have a lot. And it's going to make it that much more difficult for the Phillies. The way that this is all paid out is unique, and we'll get to that in 1 second. Of course, we are broadcasting live from the Manscaped Man Cave. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BROD at manscaped.com. So in 2021, it's $10 million on the books with $10 million deferred. From years 2022 through 2025, you're getting JT Realmuto is getting paid $23.875 million per year. And then when he's not on the team anymore in 26 and 27, he will be getting paid $5 million. So that money is deferred to help out the organization while they are going through the pandemic. So, I keep hearing this. Well, congratulations. You went from probably the fourth team in the NL East to the fourth team in the NL East. And realistically, yes, there's definitely a part of that's hurting the buzz. But at the same time, if you want to take that next step and if you want to improve, well, this is step one of that. If you look at this in a three-step process, you hire Dombrowski. You have this now professional guy at the top of your organization. You're not going to go from where you were last year to ultimately a team that's just going to run the Braves out of that first place spot in the NL East. It's going to take time. So this isn't really a punt year, but it has that feel of let's kind of assess where we're at. Let's be competitive, but almost be aware that we're just going to be competitive and hang in there, but not necessarily some lethal team. And I'm okay with that because I think think the way Matt Klentak and Andy McPhail left this organization, you're somewhat handcuffed. You're somewhat tied behind your back, and you have your hands tied behind your back, and you're going to have to work your way out of this and maneuver yourself out of this while trying to stay competitive. It's a really tough task to sell this fan base anything positive if you don't bring back JT Realmuto. So look at it from that perspective as well. Like, hey, guys, we brought in Dombrowski, but we're not going to bring back JT, and we're going to hurt Bryce Harper's feelings. And I know the feelings of the players shouldn't really matter, but I'm just looking at around sports right now. Aaron Rodgers, and this debacle is a hot item. He's not happy in Green Bay. Deshaun Watson, not happy in Houston, and he wants out of there. James Harden, he did not like Houston. He wanted out of there. He got himself out of town. So in pro sports, you do have to keep your top guys a bit happy, and bringing JT Realmuto back might be one of those messages to Bryce Harper. Hey, look, we know what you signed here for. We promised you we would be spending money, and you took more years and took less AAV to kind of help us out in that area. So we are going to fulfill our promise by bringing back JT. Keep your star happy, because they can easily get themselves out and demand a trade and beg to get out of a current situation. It happens. Pierre-Luc Dubois for the Columbus Blue Jackets forced his way out of town. Patrick Laine wanted out of Winnipeg, and look, boom, right before you know it, the NHL is making some big blockbuster deals as well. So I do think that it is important to value how Bryce Harper feels. Getting back to the steps, though, this is like a 3-step process. And step 1 is bringing back guys to make your roster competitive for the longer term. And then from there, you can start making the not so much minor pieces, but other pieces surrounding this team as the years go by here to pluck in what you think is going to work best. You have an Andrew McCutchen right now who, look at that contract. Look what you signed him for. You're not going to get the same Andrew McCutchen that you got 2 seasons ago. He's a great locker room guy. He's a great presence. Everyone loves and supports Andrew McCutchen, but I don't think you're going to get the production that you need out of that position, paying that much money to Kutch. You have a hole in center field. You're going to have to start playing and toying with these positions as you bring back a JT, as you figure out what you're going to do at shortstop. I will be disappointed if they don't clear up that shortstop position. The infield is such a problem. Bohm is a bad defender. Gene Segura is not a great defender. Rhys Hoskins is a putrid defender. Scott Kingery at second base, okay, but you can find second basemen that can do just as good of a job as Scott Kingery. And I'm not trying to devalue what he can be, but if they're thinking about bringing in a shortstop, I think that tells you how they feel about Scott Kingery, because he would be the one that gets moved. Segura would play second base, and that shortstop that they bring in would play shortstop. So I wonder maybe if they feel comfortable with Scott Kingery playing center field, and I think that might be your best bet. I'm done with the Roman Quinn nonsense. I'm done. Maybe being done with Adam Hazley's a little strong, but I just don't like that tandem. I want a real center fielder. Not that Scott Kingery is that, but is that your better option compared to those other two? Maybe it is. Dombrowski's impact, though, was huge to this type of decision. We can tie this to the Eagles. When you're Nick Sirianni, that name is still so weird to say, and you're sitting in a meeting with Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie, you're having a discussion about the future, how you see things, what your game plan is, your vision. Really, it's your blueprint. Dombrowski's blueprint, I'm sure, when talking to John Middleton is, hey, we're bringing this guy back. You say you don't want to be spending X amount of money because of the pandemic and you're losing money. If I'm coming here, we are bringing this guy back. Do you hear me? And Dombrowski's the type of guy that's been around the game for so long, and he has a track record of success. Has some failures in there too, which got me a little concerned when the hire went down. but ultimately he's had success in this league. He gets teams to the World Series. He gets teams out of funks like the Detroit Tigers and builds them to that lethal powerhouse that they were for a handful of years in that division. You saw what he did with the Boston Red Sox. Things blow up. Ultimately, at the end, things blow up, but he gets them there. If his vision was, yo, John, we are bringing him back, I would have to imagine this was a type of conversation that happened prior to the signing. That's something that John Middleton was sold on. And they had to do it. They did. They had to do it for the future of people being bought in. Because I don't know how many people would have been stoked to sit down and watch Philadelphia Phillies baseball if you were getting a product significantly worse than last year. That bullpen was historic. I was reminded about the 2-game series. I guess it was the 2 games in one day, I should say. It was the doubleheader against the Toronto Blue Jays, where the bullpen in the same day happened to blow both games in those 7-inning games. Oh, it was so miserable watching Workman come out of the pen or Adam Morgan. How about Alvarez? Remember the dude got popped in the balls? Oh, a line drive right back to the balls. I'm rubbing my eyes here because my eyes are in pain. It's like they know what we're discussing and they're starting to burn right now and they're getting this brutal sensation just thinking about whoever it was. Who was the other guy? David Hale was another one last year that didn't work out. Heath Hembry. Oh, the list goes on and on and on and on. And I still have a lot of question marks with this starting rotation. Eflin is your third guy. Now, can you say that Arrieta was so poor that Eflin sliding into your third spot is better than what Jake Arrieta gave you? Yes, but here's the counter to that. I thought Arrieta was better than, and this is crazy to say, better than Vince Velasquez and better than Spencer Howard. And it's crazy to say because Jake Arrieta did not live up to expectations. But my point of bringing that up is now you had Eflin as your 4. Your 4 now got weaker, but your 3 got stronger. Does that matter to you? Do you think getting a stronger 3 is more important than having an average 3, which was Arrieta, and a stronger 4? I guess it's kind of perspective, but I hate Vince Velasquez, and I am down on Spencer Howard. He's going to have to really prove to me that he has something there. When I watch Spencer Howard pitch, and I am not writing him off by any means, he has plenty of time to learn, plenty of time to develop. He had a full off season. He got a taste of the majors. I am not saying that he is a bum forever, but my gut feeling told me that he reminds me of a Vince Velasquez, a high velocity guy who has a high pitch count and eventually is out of the game by the 4th inning because, well, he's throwing 90 pitches already. He's getting high up in the pitch count because he struggles at times with his pitches. And we'll see. I was super excited with that fastball, high 90 cheese. And he likes to get a little fancy with the off-speed stuff, but he's got to prove to me. I need to see something significant out of Spencer Howard, a big leap from what I saw last year. But if you have a strong 3, if Zach Eflin comes out and he's great, well, you might have a strong 3. Where would that put you? I just don't know. I think they're a 500-ish baseball team. And I thought they were a 500-ish baseball team last year with their everyday guys, and the bullpen really destroyed it. So if you add to your bullpen, do you get a better result? It's so crazy because there's so many question marks surrounding who the NL East really is and what type of talent you have there. I think on paper you see an insane amount of talent. But does that always necessarily mean that's the outcome? The answer is no to that. I do want to let you guys know right now about my friends over at DraftKings. Pigskin fans, the moment you have been waiting for all season is right around the corner, and DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of Super Bowl 55, is bringing back their golden ticket giveaway with up to $55 million in prizes up for grabs. All you have to do to get your share of these huge prizes is enter DraftKings' free Super Bowl prediction challenge. Once you submit your picks, you will get a free instant prize up to $25,000. And if you have the most predictions correct, you can win the top prize of $1 million. Download the app, enter the free prediction challenge, answer questions like who will score last, and boom, get ready to make it rain. Download the DraftKings app now and use promo code BRODES to enter the free $55 million Super Bowl prediction challenge. Everyone gets an instant prize up to $25,000 just for playing. So use promo code BRODES now and enter the free $55 million Super Bowl challenge. Only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of Super Bowl 55. Terms, conditions, and eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. All right, let's hear from the people. That reminded me of party people. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. The Anytime Hotline. People reacting to the news. JT Realmuto back in action in a Philadelphia Phillies uniform. Here we go.
The best goddamn catcher in baseball. Thank God the Phillies finally signed JT Realmuto. Now we can finally focus on upgrading the bullpen, and that's either building up the minors or maybe some late off-season signings or trades. But regardless, I'm happy we signed JT Realmuto. I actually have a reason to be excited for opening day in spring training. Let's fucking go.
Look, in terms of this team, without him, you're a worse team than with him. We can all agree on that. It's a lot of money to a catcher, and I think the market will show you that other teams were not willing to go in this direction. When you had McCann be the first one to fall, you have teams going after Kurt Suzuki. Teams don't value that much money into that position. You got it from ages 30 to 35. I think both sides kind of win here. When JT Realmuto realized that this wasn't the market that he maybe anticipated, and maybe things would have been different if there was no pandemic. If there was a situation where fans were in the stands and people were going to the ballpark, you were getting the parking money, concession money, all of it, season ticket holders, well, maybe the market would have been different for him. But once he realized, okay, teams weren't all in and teams weren't really going out there and spending as much as maybe they would have if things were normal, you got a great deal and you got to stay comfortable in Philadelphia. He clearly liked the area and it worked out for him. For the Phillies, you get him from 30 to 35. Did they overpay him? I think there's some overpay in here, but it's a reasonable overpay. You're always going to overpay guys. Look at the Yankees contract with Garrett Cole. Are those back years going to be outstanding and fantastic? No, because you overpay for Garrett Cole to get the prime of his career. Well, you're somewhat overpaying for JT Realmuto to get that 30 to 33-year run out of the guy. I would have liked a 3-4-year deal. I'm okay with 5. Didn't want to touch anything of 7 years. The no DH thing is huge. Now, as time continues to move forward here with the baseball and with the CBA, you're probably going to see the DH involved at some point in the National League when JT Realmuto is here. I'm just looking at it from a 35-year-old, 34-year-old perspective. Are you going to be getting a version of JT Realmuto worthy of almost $24 million? Because from years 22 to 25, 2022 to 2025, that is, he's going to be essentially making $24 million. Will you be getting that type of production? I hate to be the guy that's bad news here, but he's a good hitter in this league. He's not great. He's not magnificent. He's a good hitter in this league. He's an above-average hitter in this league. The reason he gets the love that he gets is because it's coming from the catcher position. Now, that gives you an advantage because other teams don't have that type of play from their catcher position, so it's good to have it from that area on the diamond. But let's not act because he's, quote, the best catcher in baseball, that necessarily means he is this just elite, insane guy offensively. The position isn't that great all around the league. And I like JT Realmuto, and I would make this deal. I think it's fine. It's a reasonable overpay. They had to do it. They had to sell to the fan base, hey, we're not just giving up. But I do think it's fair to kind of say, look, it's an above average hitter. It's not anything lethal. It's just talked about that way because of the position that he plays. If he's a first baseman, do you talk about JT Realmuto the same way? No. I do think he'll age better than most catchers, though, just to look at it objectively. I think a lot of catchers break down. Like he seems to have more of a, athletic physical feature that might help him play a little bit longer, not break down as quickly, which would be very beneficial to this franchise. All right, here we go. Anytime hotline.
Bros, we signed JT Realmuto. Thank the Lord. Oh my goodness, I was over here pooping my pants, super worried that we were going to let him slip, but we finally signed him for, 23?
Oh,
now a pitcher, scratch that, maybe like 17 pitchers, then maybe we'll be a good squad.
Well, a little bit of okay. A little bit of technical difficulties on the phone lines for this caller. He starts out pooping his pants, though, that the Phillies were, he was pooping his pants thinking the Phillies weren't going to get the job done. If you read the market, though, and if you've been following what other teams were doing, and once James McCann left the board, it seemed like it was a no-brainer that eventually it would come down to this. It was just about the terms. Now, you saw the Braves come into play, and I think I'm going to use air quotes when saying that. That's your typical agent talk to try and boost up the money. There was a report that about 2 weeks ago, the offer on the table was about 107. I think what they did, they tried to get some leverage. They tried to boost up the package a bit. Hey, your rival in the division. Hey, nod, nod, wink, wink. They're kind of boosting it up a bit. Do you want to make sure you get the package together that we won't say no to? You don't want to lose JT Realmuto to an in-division rival. I thought it was all smokescreen. So, look, if the difference was 107 to 10 or 115.5 million, then by all means, that's fine. A $7 million-ish difference, $8 million-ish difference shouldn't be the difference in getting JT Realmuto here or not. But if you were reading the market, I think it essentially told you he will be back. It's about the terms and the money and the years. Other than that, Phillies pinstripes. It almost seemed inevitable.
Let's go, Brodes. We got JT. We got JT. Let's go, Phillies. This is a tremendous offseason from signing Archie Bradley to getting JT Realmuto. Hopefully it only continues. Let's go, Phillies. Thanks for taking the call, Brodes.
Wow, some excitement. Now, that excitement seems to be a bit extreme. To me, that's a, oh yeah, let's go Phils! Let's go Phils! Type of excitement where you got the foam finger in the stands. I appreciate that type of love. I appreciate that type of support. I don't know if this move gets me to that level. Also, you heard some excitement about Archie Bradley. I think it's a good signing. I think it'll help this bullpen. I don't know if Archie Bradley, as me, twirling the towel at the top of Citizens Bank Park, shit-faced on a Sunday afternoon after drinking 30 Coors Lights and shotgunning them in Jetro. But hey, I'm here for that type of feeling. I don't want to rain on anybody's parade here. I just don't have that naturally built inside of me from this. Now, if they go out and get a Trevor Bauer, I think I'll be doing that. If they would have got George Springer instead of the Blue Jays paying that money, I would have been doing that. But this is almost bringing back your same team, so it loses a bit of energy for me. I don't want to be the guy of the bad news, though, or the negative Nancy. I can see why fans are excited. I can see why people are pumped up. It seemed a little strong for me, though. Just a little strong for me.
Signing JT is an excellent first step for the Phillies in salvaging this offseason. And the $10 million deferred is also going to help sign a starting pitcher or a closer. There's no reason they can't do that now.
That's a great point. if they utilize that money, and I don't know if they're going to, but once again, the Dave Dombrowski effect could be in play. If they use that money that they deferred to maybe go get a bullpen arm or maybe to bring back Didi Gregorius for this upcoming season, well then, yeah, I mean, I would be stoked. I really would be. I don't know, though, if that's the case. And prior to the Simmons news, maybe going out and getting Simmons as your shortstop, that would have been a cheaper option than Didi Gregorius. So if you use the deferred money, plus the money you save by not signing Didi and bringing in Simmons, then you have more money to operate with to go out and help other guys and bring in other guys and help out your team in other areas. I just feel like, to some degree, they're trying to save pennies while still committing to bringing guys back. Like, I don't believe all the money that they're saving is just to help out in other areas. It's more about, hey, there's a pandemic going on and we're not bringing in as much as we thought we would. So they're trying to keep you occupied with bringing in JT and bringing in some players while pinching those pockets at the same time. There's definitely going to be a mix. They're going to be drawing a line somewhere. But that's a great call, and it's a great mindset and a great thought from a rational perspective here. I just don't know if John Middleton always operates in a rational way, and sadly, that's a problem.
Hey, Brodes, it's Justin. I'm really happy that we signed JT Realmuto for 5 years, $115,000, and I feel like he is going to do well for us next season and for further on. I bet you Bryce Harper is 100% happy that the Phillies re-signed JT, and let's hope we can make a playoff push this year. Have a good day.
Thank you so much for the call. One of my biggest supporters, always a big fan of the show, been supporting forever, and I really, really appreciate your phone call. It means the world to me. I think you're right. I think you hit it on the head when you said Bryce Harper is really happy, and I kind of want to date this back to what I was saying earlier. In today's era of sports, whether you like it or you don't like it, these players have a ton of power. Now, I know that, when Bryce Harper signed here, no opt-outs, and he claimed he wanted to be in a city forever. He wanted to have his kids grow up in a city, go to school, stay in one area, not move around a bit. It was all about the family aspect for Bryce Harper, so that was one of the reasons why he built the contract the way that he did. But if you have an owner that goes against everything that he said when they flew out to Vegas to have a meeting and go out to dinner with your wife, when John Middleton brought his wife and they would sit down and just talk and meet one another, really learn who each other are deeper down than just baseball. Well, if he sold you a bunch of garbage and then he went back against all of his words, well, I think it's easy for a player to snap and get frustrated, get annoyed, and realize that the future isn't so bright in Philadelphia. I think you hit something right on the head when you said Bryce Harper is happy. You got to keep Bryce Harper happy. Now, I got annoyed throughout the season where every day, sign JT from the player. If they just rushed and signed JT when Bryce Harper wanted to, they would have paid significantly more money than they did now. They played it perfectly. They waited out the market. They wanted to see where it would fall, and they cashed in. Maybe they foresaw that teams would not be willing to spend a lot of money on the catcher position when they knew that they would outbid those guys because they were willing to bring him back, knowing the package that they gave up for him when trading with Miami. You got to give them credit. You might not like to because we're giving the old regime credit, but they played it out perfectly, and it benefited them. I didn't like Bryce Harper being a spokesperson throughout. I get what he was trying to do, but it's like, you work on baseball. Let the front office work on the front office things, even though it was guys that were inept to making proper decisions. They were the ones in place. So I didn't like that, but ultimately the end result is what he wanted. So I think that is very beneficial. Archie Bradley did the same as well, by the way. When he first got here, he went with sign JT right from the jump. I thought that was pretty funny. All right, here we go. One more.
So the JT Realmuto saga has finally come to an end. Happy that JT is back. I think 5 years with His athleticism isn't out of the question. I mean, he can be converted if needed to another position, most likely. But I got to tip my hat to Dave Dombrowski. Everything that he set out to accomplish from his introductory press conference, he seems to have done. He wanted JT back, check. He wanted to add some hard throwers to the bullpen, check. He wanted to add a legitimate closer, check. And there's still more work to be done with Gregorius maybe re-signing, maybe replaced. Got to get another starter in there. But for the most part, this guy has delivered on his guarantees, and that's all I can ask as a fan.
That's a great point. It really is. And I'm feeling better about Dombrowski. My first initial reaction was I was skeptical, some red flags, but I knew that he had winning success. So I was trying to tie it together. Where do I stand? Well, I'm not going to pretend like those flaws don't stand out to me. At the same time, he brought teams to championship runs and he's won championships. So you need to value that. He is doing what he said he was going to do. And I talked about how this could possibly be a 3-part process. Well, this is step 1. Helping out the bullpen, getting some hard throwers, taking some flyers on guys, working with JoJo Romero, Connor Brogdon, some pieces of last year. Let's work with that. Now, Alvarado is interesting. When the Rays give up on someone, does that concern you? Or do you look at it as, well, they have so many guys in their system nonstop that throw so damn hard that, oh, he's just 1 in 10 billion. We'll call up the next one. That's an interesting perspective on him. I don't really know what to expect from Coonrod. You just don't know. They're all flyers. And with bullpen pieces, just like you saw with, oh, God, who the miserable player from last year. Come on. It'll come to me. Brandon Workman. He was great in Boston. Look at his last year in Boston. I want to tell you his stats. I mean, we've all been through it a billion times, but for the people that forget about what we... Nope, not Brandon Graham. Brandon Workman. God, I'd never want to view Brandon Workman's name again. He had a 1.88 ERA with a 10-1 record in 2019. I bring that up showing you that bullpen pieces are so year to year. 1 year they're brutal, the next year they're great. 1 year they're great, the next year they're bad. 1 year they're mediocre, the next year they're flat out embarrassing. When they're flat out embarrassing, they battle back and they have a successful season the next year. They're so hit or miss that when you start taking flyers on these guys to come in here and throw hard, well, you have an opportunity to see if they work out and benefit your club or not. And it matters what they did last year, but it doesn't really matter what they did last year because a new identity changes things so much. But yeah, look, I'm excited. I'm getting a little flustered for words here. I'm excited that they did this because it's better than them not having him. I just don't know what to expect from this baseball team. I don't have high expectations. I think they're just going to be your 81-81 type team, your 500 team. Yeah, that's kind of where I see them. All right. How about this, though? I see Orbit Energy and Power as a 162-0 team. With over 20 years of experience in the solar industry, Orbit Energy and Power is home to your solar experts in both residential and commercial projects. Their solar program eliminates your electric bill completely. They offer flexible financing solutions such as $0 down. They provide water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, and more. So visit their information. It is all down below. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.